Big round number 6. We'll see which of these top-level competitors will have what it takes to edge out the other in a battle of wits and determination.
Yeah, so Grant going first and starts off with an S-ball, so going to do a very quick flick through the deck to see what is prized and what is not. We can have a look at the prize cards here, or rather we already did, and we saw that Grant's prizes, yeah, not really great with the Monkey Dory and the double Turo prize, and Grant, I'm sure, will be looking through that, noting that and thinking, oh, that's a little bit awkward.
Does start that Pheasantipity. Usually a little bit better to start something like the Gimme Ghoul, even if it's not that Call for Family one, which is prized. Just getting that down and being able to use the coin bonus to draw 2 cards instead of 1. Every card counts in the Pokemon TCG. As Grant, like you mentioned, will take a look at the deck, see what pieces are prized, and noticing those 2 Turo in the prizes along with Monkey Dory, could that realization shift his strategy to be a little bit different than it usually is in a matchup like this?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the thing is about the approaching the Dragapult matchup is, of course, Dragapult is not a deck that takes one-hit knockouts, generally speaking. You're doing 200 to the active with a Phantom Dive, you're spreading the damage onto the bench with the residual damage from that Phantom Dive, so not having access to Tourist scenario, I mean, ultimately you still want to be just taking big one-hit knockouts on Dragapult with your Goldengo EX, but maybe you're thinking, I need to be a little bit mindful of the fact that I can't really heal off any damage and prevent those multi-prize turns which Dragapult can take, which can swing the tempo back in their favor.
So it will be the Gimme Ghoul off the Nest Ball selection for Grant, but shuffling the deck up, which means if there's only going to be one Gimme Ghoul coming into play with item lock on the horizon for the following turn, thanks to a free retreat from Cleffa potentially, this could leave Grant in a sticky situation if some of those options are cut off and unavailable. It is still a nice thing to have down. Gimme Ghoul number 1 on the bench. Will there be even an attachment? Oh, it looks like number 2 in hand, so must have been the draw for turn. Energy onto the Pheasantipity will allow it to retreat. Here we go. RYUKI Okada will kick things off, and immediately that first card in hand, Brock scouting, and of something like Arven to just get Pokemon into play, up and running, and it will be the first action RYUKI takes on his turn.
Yeah, Brock Scouting, one of the supporters from the recent Journey Together set. So, like you said, a great supporter for setting up early and later on. So in the early stages, you can use it to search a deck for 2 basic Pokemon, or later on, you can also use it to search for an evolution Pokemon. And then, so later on, you can grab your Dragapult, but now you're going to be wanting to get your basics. And speaking of basics, there's a very interesting tech card in RYUKI's list that he was eyeing, and that is that Elgyem from Black Bolt.
Yeah, it's usually seen in sort of more control-esque styles of decks, but this is kind of the direction Dragapult has slowly been going. It's become a, ability to trap Pokemon in the active sometimes with Maractus. It can now move energies around thanks to that slight shift attack on the Elgyem. Big thing here in this matchup, I'm not sure how relevant that's going to be. Goldengo can just attack for a single metal energy, and pending it has to Professor Turo, it can always just pick the Pokemon up, discard those energies, and get them back later on with a superior energy retrieval. So it's good to note that it's in the deck. Not sure we're going to see it hit the stage in this matchup.
Yeah, I guess the most annoying use you could put to use it against Grant is maybe move a Metal Energy onto something like a Pheasantipity EX, because that way, yeah, you force either the retreat or the Turo, but because you only need 1 energy to attack, like you said, more than likely not going to sort of come into it. Probably not a card overall for this matchup, but RYUKI going to have a look through. Have a look at the prize cards. We can see that overall the prizes aren't too bad. The one of Luxurious Cape is prized. Maybe that could be a bit annoying. That could be a way to prevent a reach for a one-hit knockout from Goldengo EX. A couple of Ino as well. We do play 4 of those, so that's really not the end of the world. I think RYUKI's overall's got to be pretty content with these prize cards.
Start is good. Now RYUKI's got to start making decisions. What is the attack of choice this turn? The obvious choice, of course, Grasping Draw is already at your disposal. It's the Cleffa in the active spot. Could fill the hand up to 7 cards with a 0 energy attack. You see this at the forefront along with the other baby Pokemon, that Badoo, to item lock, use Itchy Pollen, shut off Grant from using something like another Nest Ball to grab Genesect thanks to Arven being able to search out the items. It's a big decision here for RYUKI. The one thing, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Freya. The one point you have to point out, however, is there the ability to afford putting a bunch of these low HP Pokemon in play when Monkey Dory can KO them so easily late in the game? RYUKI thinks it's worth the item lock. What do you think about that?
I think it is absolutely on like a razor thin edge. I think that the item lock probably overall is worth it enough to go for it, but it's definitely something you have to think about in the sense that you don't really want to be in a position where there's something very easily that can be sniped for a 1 prize with that Monkey Dory's ability. And I'm sure RYUKI is aware that Monkey Dory is something that these Goldengo decks are opting for more often as well. So overall worth it, but it's just something that RYUKI is going to have in the back of his mind as this game progresses.
Looks like we're going to see the Goldengo evolved on the bench, deciding to actually not retreat into that Goldengo to get that coin bonus's effect. He's just having a little bit more options, maybe not having the metal energy in hand. Some thought processes could potentially have in this spot. Does have metal energy plus boss's orders. Is this just an opportunity where Grant wants to get on the aggressive, chase down the Dreepy with the energy, try and slow down Phantom Dive as an option?
Yeah, I mean, I think
might
that's
be the case.
fine.
And I have to wonder, you know, if this was the plan, we could have just drawn an extra card with that coin bonus. So I have to wonder if that one card was an impactful card, like another energy, to get through this math. We'll see boss's orders, or no boss's orders, just going to save it, take the KO on Badu, and I actually think I like this play a little bit. It seems like Dracloak being available is going to be, you know, in the same wheelhouse of value after being KO'd.
Yeah, just at this point, just dealing with the Badu means you're not worried about being item locked again next turn, and although there are no items in the hand currently, you really don't want to be in a position where you need to play items and you can't. So just deal with the Badu while you can. Although here comes the counter catcher from Ryuki, of course, Grant having just gone ahead on prizes. Counter catcher is live, going to bring out that Pheasantipity, and after that, was it just a Professor's Research I saw?
Yeah, Professor's Research. There is only one Badu in Ryuki's list, so can only use this if he can find a Night Stretcher, and you see at the top of the hand, off of that Professor's Research, it will be an option now, can still use Recon Directive, go through the deck a little bit, finds a tough choice. It's Dreepy or another Ultra Ball to search out for one of these Pokemon like the Dracloak, and I have to imagine if there is an energy card in hand, it's definitely got to be worth getting another Dracloak in play, so boss isn't as big of a threat.
Yeah, you want to make sure that at least one of your Dracloak will survive the next turn, so you can evolve into that Dragapult and start doing Phantom Dive as soon as possible. Debating whether to bench the Pheasantipity yet, so go for that flip the script, does go for it, and is rewarded with finding his A-Spec, that Sparkling Crystal.
Seems like we've come full circle. Before the rotation of those V Pokemon from the Sword and Shield era, this was the A-Spec of choice in Dragapult EX. Playing the Sparkling Crystal means that in one turn you can attack with no energy on. We saw something like the Neo Upper Energy become a more popular inclusion as of recent. Yuki's decided Sparkling Crystal outweighs the benefits of that double Rainbow Energy essentially from Neo Upper. We'll be playing that as the A-Spec, and the Ultra Ball will be played. It is a bit costly though, getting rid of Dreepy and the Monkey Dory in response to just getting another Dracloak out and maybe finding this energy attachment. I have to wonder, that's still the one thing missing at this point. See if it is in there. You know, the Sparkling Crystal will allow an attack in one turn. Looks like the Night Stretcher means we're going to see Badu, number 2, essentially come into play. This is just going perfectly for Ryuki. Grant's had the response to KO to start. He's now going about thinking which option he wants to go for here. Just thinking about where the attachments go. Just confirming here, yeah, this is the attachment for turn. There was the Luminous Energy play down on turn 1, so we can still attach this energy card. I think we're just making sure everything is okay.
Yeah, it was last turn. I remember, because the whole point was it was on the Dreepy, right, and we were debating on maybe boss to go for it made sense, so yeah, it was definitely last turn.
Yeah, we're all good in terms of the board state. Now Ryuki's just got to decide, do I want to go into the Badu? The Stretcher means absolutely. Itchy Pollen for 10 damage onto the Pheasantipity. Question is, Grant did find one of those Professor Turo off the prize cards. We'll still need to potentially find a way to get energies out. It's just going to actually burn the Professor Turo to get this out and get an extra card here off of this coin bonus.
I like
Does find the energy needed, so now boss's orders and a Make It Rain means that one of these Dracloak can go down if that's the line that Grant wants to go after.
Yeah, well, it won't be this turn, of course, because Did just played the Turo, so you can't play 2 supporters in one turn. But even now, just taking another KO on a Badu, it's fine. You're going 2 prizes ahead. That you've picked off the 2 damage that were on the field from the Itchy Pollen. So you've picked off like the easy, how best to put it? You've picked off like the easy math manipulation that Phantom Dive can do by you putting like 1 damage counter on a 210 HP 2 prizer, and very wisely Grant not putting it back down again. That's a very clean board. So I think just the Turo on the Pheasantipity is absolutely fine.
So Grant's gone ahead and gone to a 2-prize lead. Ryuki yet to put any pressure on offensively. That will definitely change with Dragapult EX getting evolved, 1 energy away, or even the Sparkling Crystal away from a Phantom Dive attack. Yuki is just playing the straight Dragapult version. There's no Dusknoir whatsoever. Means a little bit less explosive pressure. What are some ways in this matchup he can still, you know, try and apply offensive pressure while not having access to something like Cursed Blast to use offensively.
Well, I think in this matchup specifically, it's one of the ones where it doesn't matter as much. The maths for you as a Dragapult player works out very, very well against Goldengo, because, of course, you're doing 200 to the active. Goldengo has 260 HP, so then if you bring something else into the active, you can KO it, and then the 60 residual damage from Phantom Dive will KO that Goldengo that has a 200 damage on it. So the maths works out very well for the Dragapult player.
Flip the Script being used does draw into 3 very solid cards. The Brock Scouting, Night Stretcher, and Psychic Energy. We've yet to see the attachment happen, and now with the Brock Scouting, it means Hawlucha is a potential basic Pokemon option.
Oh,
to
yes.
Immediately grabbed the top of the deck, placed into the hand, along with that Toad School.
Oh.
I'm repping it on my lapel today. It's going to get in there, and that Toad Scroll is really going to be the big disruptive threat in a matchup like this.
Yeah, Slime Mold Colony prevents items, or prevents energies, or any cards in general from being taken back from the discard pile. So Superior Energy Retrieval, not going to be doing much of anything once that Toad Scroll comes out into play.
And it's potentially just going to go fully after this
Okay.
Gimmighoul. Not going to try and worry about putting Hawlucha into play as it seems. Going to just use this and now use this Recon Directive. Ultra Ball, much better card than Buddy Buddy Poffin at this point. Will be the selection for Ryuki. So the question now becomes, where does he want to go after this? And it seems that the game plan, now that there is this Cleffa in play, is just to not overload damage on the board so that Monkey Dory can just take an easy prize card down the line or even as soon as this turn.
Yeah, very sensible here. Still taking 2 prizes because you're taking out the Gimmighoul and that bench Charcadet. And the other nice thing, of course, is that one more Gimmighoul down means one less option for Grant to evolve into Goldengo to attack more and draw more cards. So I think overall a really great turn for Ryuki.
Grant has yet to play a supporter card outside of Professor Turo. No Cypher Maniacs code breaking, no Arven to search out energies thanks to Energy Search Pro. Just start things off with another coin bonus in the active spot, so it does draw 2 cards instead of 1 from the top of the deck. And hasn't played a lot of items either. It's going to be Flip the Script. That Pheasantipede staying in the hand after being picked up from Turo on the previous turn.
And just a bunch more items. There's a bunch of energy, a bunch of items, and a Goldengo EX. I mean, Nest Ball is still a great find. You can try to go ahead and start to get some more Gimmighoul out into the field so you can start getting more Goldengo out. But yeah, Ryuki just had a very, very good turn last turn. Generally speaking, the way things go is that you might fall behind a little bit early on, but then a sweep, right? But Ryuki is taking a very proactive kind of attacking methodology just by you making use of the Hawlucha combined with the Gusting to deal with basically almost clear Grant's board other than that one Goldengo EX, and it's really paying off for Ryuki right now.
Boss's Orders is still in hand for Grant, and, with that Toad School being on the bench, I wonder if, preemptively just trying to get rid of that Pokemon and make sure that Toad Scroll does not come online is just worth the value of ignoring Dragapult for a turn, since without the ability to use cards like Night Stretcher or Superior Energy Retrieval, it feels like your deck just sort of slowly shuts down, and that's really what this counter card does for a deck like Dragapult when it just wants to buy as much time as possible and avoid these big one-hit KOs from Make It Rain.
Yeah, I think Grant is about to make a very crucial decision here on that exact basis. There's a lot of energy in the hand right now. I think from what you have, you can get there with the rest of the energy you need to take a knockout, because there's the Earthen Vessel here, so that'll grab you 2 more energy. You need 7 overall to KO this Dragapult EX. If you want to just go ahead and rush for prizes, you can take out this Dragapult, and then there's the Pheasantipede EX ready on the bench just for slim pickings for a knockout. The problem being, if you then are worried about not having enough energy because you don't have access to energy recovery because of the Toad Scroll, you can't go for that. So that's going to be the key decision there to determine whether it makes sense to kind of sacrifice your prize map to go after the Toad Scroll, or you feel confident enough they can just go 2 and 2 to close out the game.
Like you said, Grant at a crossroads at this point. What will be the decision? Do you try and get rid of this Pokemon that inherently shuts down your engine, or go after Dragapult EX and try and just take 1 more 2-prize KO to close things out? And with that boss being discarded with Superior Energy Retrieval, it looks like Grant has made its decision. Get through this Dragapult, and then maybe it's that Pheasantipede EX as the last 2 prize cards on Grant's journey to close out this first game. Night Stretcher being used as well. We'll get back the Charcadet, so down the line later on, you never know, Armor Rouge EX can come in and put on a little bit of pain when it comes to a big Abyssal Flames later on. It's always an option to have. Grant's a solid player. He knows the more options at his disposal, the higher chance he's going to have to win, as he preemptively gets this Pokemon powered up and is incoming for what appears to be a big Make It Rain.
And of course, now this plan can make a little bit more sense. You're preloading the energy onto this Ceruledge, or onto this Charcadet that can evolve into Ceruledge. You've got the 7 energy in the hand to take knockout. So now, even if RYUKI evolves into the Toedscruel, you have an attacker that can KO the Pheasantipity, even with you not being able to get your items back. So I think Grant is now locking in on this 2-2 prize map, and that's able to happen even with the worry of the Toedscruel, because you have that backup attacker of the Ceruledge EX.
Now, RYUKI is in an interesting spot. Pheasantipity, while it's been great at drawing cards and allowing him to continue development of his board, could come back to bite him as an easy 2-prize liability. Big decision here does find the Professor Turo off of this recon directive, and I do wonder if you can afford to use that as your supporter for turn to pick Pheasantipity up, and if you can also get Toedscruel into play, it's very unlikely that your Dragapult EX can be knocked out since there's so many energy in the discard pile already.
Yeah, and I think that's the debate that RYUKI is now having in his mind. There's a Town Store in the hand and an Ultra Ball, as well as that Elgyem. Yeah, as we discussed, that Elgyem is really not going to be a big difference maker in this matchup, so I think it is just going to be Ultra Ball fodder, and are we going to find that Toedscruel and evolve up and then make use of that Slime Ball colony? Actually, yeah, I know hitting it in the discard pile, and then I guess, yeah, you don't really need the Latias X right now, so may as well get rid of that. It's just going to be another 2-prize liability.
Just wants to keep it around for an option. You never know. If Armarouge is the only way to attack, then that's where the LGM can be powerful. Just
that's
moving
true,
the energy
yeah.
off. We already saw 1 Turo be played. RYUKI's got to at least have a hunch that at maximum Grant is playing 2 copies of that Professor Turo. And that's still fine. Even if you Turo a Pokemon, the entire dynamic just changes when you can't use Night Stretcher or Superior Energy Retrieval to get that fire energy back from the discard pile, disrupting with Iono, and looking to potentially just attack or even use a counter catcher this turn to put on some attacking pressure. We'll see if RYUKI was able to find that, finishing the turn off with a Flip the Script. Has Turo for the following turn, so it looks like it will be Phantom Dive active. Gholdengo will go up to just 50 HP remaining, and then the damage will be split on both Pheasantipity and Genesect so that they are both in range for the 200 from Phantom Dive to later take a KO. RYUKI's putting himself in a spot where potentially next turn he can win the game with just 1 more Phantom Dive.
RYUKI, as he has done so many times already, showing an absolute masterclass in how to play the Dragapult deck. This is going to be a very crucial draw now for Grant as he drop decks a Ceruledge EX for turn.
So things are potentially available now that RYUKI decided to not play the Professor Turo. You know, I have to wonder, disruption is great, but if you just take away the only way for your opponent to win next turn, it feels like that could potentially have just been a little bit better than disrupting your opponent off the board. They're going to have access to so much, the coin bonus from the active, the coin bonus on the bench, potentially even Cypher Maniac. You have to wonder if Cypher Maniac is not needed, right? And Boss's Orders can be the supporter card for turn. The question then becomes, is there an energy to move this Gholdengo of the active? Potentially discarding those 2 to make it so Abyssal Flames does more. Air Balloon would also work. And importantly, like you mentioned, is there that Ceruledge EX, which it looks like there might be.
Well, that was the top deck.
Yeah, so we'll see what this design looks like for Grant and how he wants to go about using these abilities. He's got access to both. First, use the coin bonus on the bench. What do you have access to, Grant? Can you find a way to take the last 2 prize cards this turn?
So it looks like it's a Monkey Dory and a Lightning Energy.
And you see RYUKI just putting his hands up, praying, saying, please don't have the combo. RYUKI's experienced. He knows how this game could end this turn, but with the pace that Grant is taking this turn, I'm not sure he has all the pieces. He's going to go ahead and count the energy. So 7 energy in the discard pile, 30 plus 20 for each energy in the discard. So that's 170. And then if you discard 2 energy off the active, that puts you to 9 energy in play. That's 180 plus 30 would be exact math to KO the Pheasantipity. So we'll need to have a manual attachment instead of an Air Balloon. Are the pieces here for Grant? If he has Boss's Orders, this game is over. Freya is going to retreat off the active into the Ceruledge. Is there a Boss's Orders? If the math is correct, then this will be game over. Do you have it, Grant?
No.
I'm not sure it's there.
No,
surely you'd see him slam it.
No, I think that's the thing. Yeah, if it was in hand, you would have seen the retreat and slam. Grant has done the maths in his head already. I think instead it's just a retreat and
It's just going to pass the turn over, and there's the boss's orders in hand. Grant Shen just one piece short. RYUKI capitalizing off that miss and taking game number 1 with this Dragapult EX stat. Hurdles they need to get over when it comes to setting up. RYUKI will be going first. Grant opting to go second. He's going to play this Buddy Poffin, and there's some cards in both players' prizes they're not going to like to see. Freya, break it down for me here.
Some prize cards of all time, I think, in a nutshell. So on Grant's side, 2 Goldengo EX prize, and with 1 Genesect down, starting 1 prize and starting with the other one. I guess that's not so bad. But then you go to RYUKI's side, the whole Toad Screw line prized, and the Badu as well. 3 of the best cards in this matchup.
Yeah, and there's only 1 Badu. A lot of these straight Dragapult lists are playing 2 copies of that card. RYUKI making space for things like the Cleffa, the Maractus, Elgium's got to make a cut somewhere. It was that Badu with the risk of prizing it, and that risk may have just come back to bite him. He'll have to figure out, without access to Toad Scroll or Item Block, if there's a realistic chance for him to navigate through this game. You see his eyes open up wide, being like, is this really my prize cards in a huge stakes game early on in this tournament?
Yes, unfortunately, RYUKI, it is. So it's a very good thing that RYUKI won that game 1, because if you're in this game 2 scenario, you're staring down prize cards like that. It's not an instant concede, but it's pretty bad.
It's not an instant concede, but I wonder if Grant just sets up his board normally, if you consider within, 5 to 10 minutes just picking your cards up and going next, right? You get to go second in this 3rd game. You'd have access to hopefully better prize cards. If you play this game out, you're most likely going to be left with 10 minutes or so on the clock, and I'm not sure that's enough time for both these players to play a full-fledged out game. You got to think about that if you're RYUKI. Yeah. This best-of-3 experience, I think, is definitely going to come back to provide him a little bit of reward in this World Championship match.
Yeah, RYUKI shaking his head. The expressions have been priceless, I gotta say, and I mean, who can really blame him given that 3 of the best cards in this specific matchup, and you don't have access to them. I mean, he's writing down the prize cards. He's just looking through. Maybe he's hoping, hold on, if I just look through the deck enough, maybe I'll see them again. But unfortunately, we both know that's not how it's gonna work.
Does not work. There's no reserved ticket available to shuffle or mix those prize cards up. We're gonna go see the Buddy Poffin as the use, of course. Wanted to check through the deck. It will just be Dreepies all day for RYUKI. And, if you can't disrupt, we saw RYUKI able to draw a bunch of cards. So if the Dracloaks are there in flow, if you can use a bunch of recon directives, you're just a couple of Phantom Dives away from success and glory if you really think about it.
Yeah, and you were just saying about how maybe if Grant can set up well, RYUKI might consider going next. And Grant's hand is pretty stacked for a turn 1 setup. I saw Buddy Poffin, that's just been slammed down. I saw a Nest Ball. I saw a bunch of good turn 1 cards.
Exactly what you want to see, and Grant doesn't even know it's just going to get better next turn when there's no item lock as a threat on RYUKI's side. It's just going to use this Buddy Poffin. It means no matter what, Genesect EX can grab out those Stage 1 Goldengo EX Pokemon next turn, and we haven't even seen a supporter card played yet. Grant's going to do the same, just check through the deck, see what Pokemon and pieces are available, what's in the prize cards, and noticing that there are those 2 Goldengo means we may not even see more than 2 Gimmighoul hit the board. Maybe we'll see a 3rd one just in case later on, but there's no reason to go crazy with the gimmies at this point.
There really isn't. And I mean, do you even consider maybe putting down the Charcadet now? I guess maybe you'd rather save it for later just to make sure it doesn't get sniped easily off of a Holucha plus Phantom Dive combo. But yeah, we're talking about bad prizes. Obviously, Grant's prizes aren't amazing in the sense that prizing 2 Goldengo is never really what you want to see.
Yeah.
But at least you have 2 Goldengo to search, right? And it's not like all of them are prized, like is the case for RYUKI's 1-ofs being in the prize cards.
Yeah, guaranteed these both will get evolved. You're not threatened by Cursed Blast, Rare Candy on turn 2. This is a slower version of Dragapult EX. It looks to do what it did in game number 1. Buy time with Badu, that's not an option. Shut your opponent's resource recovery down with Toad Scroll, that's not an option. As I'm saying, option 1 and option 2 are both unavailable. What do you do here if you're RYUKI, assuming the game is going to play out just like this? Grant's going to get set up, RYUKI's going to get set up, we could see Monkey Dory come down, energies get placed, knockouts be taken, and if there's not that, one extra disruptive element, either the item lock or the recovery blockage from that Toad Scroll, it seems RYUKI just doesn't have the pieces to swing a matchup like this into his favor.
Slight aside here, actually, something that I think is important to mention is you do see the Professor Churro picking up the Genesect EX. That's really good after already using the Metallic Signal on it, and then can go ahead and mine that errand running to search the deck for 2 more energy. Grant's list, as well as the Ceruledge EX, is playing one copy of Briar to make use of the fact that, of course, Ceruledge EX is a Terra Pokemon. I imagine Grant has already stolen some games with that little combination there.
Yeah, I don't think you'd expect Ceruledge, let alone the Ceruledge-Briar combination. We saw it be used in a really intuitive way in that last round with the Charizard versus Crustle matchup. Who knows, Briar could be the star-studded guest that we never knew was on the invite list this weekend.
Not for Goldengo, at least.
Yeah, we've seen some interesting partners with Goldengo. We saw the Joltik earlier on today. Now we're seeing Ceruledge. Goldengo, I mean, it provides, it does what it needs to do. I think players are getting a little bit too creative with this. I don't want to be the fun police and stop people from playing what they want to play, but we got to chill out a little bit, guys. Come on.
I mean, to be fair, if there's anywhere where you usually see like this kind of like out of the box, sort of really kind of the edge of what's not like reasonable, but the edge of what you'd expect, it is at the World Championships. This is the place to consider going for these crazy techs, and people tend to pull out all the stops at World Championships. So if there's anywhere where you're going to see this, I'm not surprised it's here.
So RYUKI also missing that energy attachment means he's even more on the back foot than what was already in place thanks to those prize cards. Doing what he can, though, getting these Dracloaks number 1 and number 2 evolved. Looks like Professor Research in the hand. Not going to have too many more resources to discard. It will be, I think, another Dragapult, but also has this Iono is going to opt to save the effect of discarding the other Dragapult, draw 6 cards, refresh the hand for Grant as well, putting those energies and, importantly, the Genesect plus the 2 Goldengos to the bottom. That was a big question I was asking for Grant. You prize double Goldengo, you prize Genesect, and then you grab all the Goldengos to your hand. You're just kind of asking yourself to get Iono to a spot like that, it feels.
Yeah, and that might end up coming back to bite him. I mean, he does the Iono hand isn't the worst. We do see a Pokegear, so maybe that can find something, but actually, well, I say it's not the worst. Other than that, there actually is not a lot to work with, so things could get a bit ugly for Grant depending on how this Pokegear goes.
Yeah, you could even, classify his play as slightly greedy. In the long run, not having to play Genesect down again would only give you value. It's a low HP EX Pokemon off the board. You're really not using its ability until later. So here we go, big Pokegear, but does find the Arven. That means as long as there's another Nest Ball in the deck, which there should be, Genesect can come back into play, be benched, use that Metallic Signal ability. You may have to just be asking yourself, if I just had this Genesect in play, I could have just used my Arven to find something like Earthen Vessel or the Super Energy Retrieval down the line, Energy Search Pro. Gonna have to take what he can get. Does get bailed out in this spot. See the coin bonuses. Grant sets up as he wants to. Again, ask if you're RYUKI, when do those alarm bells start going off in your head to try and pick things up?
Yeah, and actually, you were talking about Earthen Vessel and Energy Search Pro. They're both actually already in the hand. So, the rest of the hand was okay as long as that Pokegear hit something, and it did. So now this hand is turned from potentially terrible to absolutely amazing.
Turn is far from over. We have the Goldengo EX in the active spot that can evolve, Goldengo on the bench that can be evolved. RYUKI, of course, calculating through things. He's an experienced player. Give him credit where credit is due. If anybody can win a game under these circumstances when it comes to prize cards, he would be on my list of players that are more than capable. But Grant, as a solid player himself, he's never really going to lose games like this when it's just so far in his favor. So there's those two dynamics going back and forth. We'll see if they cancel out. We'll see if one player is able to emerge victorious. His abilities are used, energy cards are found, and make it rain more than online. Grant off to a picture-perfect start, even getting that Ceruledge powered up. So later down the line, Abyssal Flames can come in and take a late KO.
So just whilst Grant finishes off this turn, wanted to take a moment for a brief aside. So Oyvind, who we did see in our last Swiss feature round 5, did win going 5-0, has now won round 6, and now is the first player at Worlds to be 6-0. So has now more than enough match points to advance to the next phase of competition. So Oyvind's got to be feeling very, very good about that.
Still plenty of Pokemon to play, including this match. RYUKI did have that Direct Cloak on the bench survive. It does not KO'd, so as long as there's a way to attach an energy card and evolve, at minimum, you can threaten something like a Phantom Dive this turn. But you just got really no other disruptive pressure to put on your opponent. This is a little bit of a tough decision off of the Recon Directive. You have the Sparkling Crystal that guarantees the attachment, or the Latios that allows this Pokemon to move out of the active. And we'll actually see the Sparkling Crystal go to the bottom of the deck, so valuing that Latios EX to allow this Street Bee to move out of the active thanks to its ability.
Oh, and here's a very interesting choice here. We see another Brock Scouting being played. Is thinking about going for that Maractus. Of course, this is a card that we've seen prop up as a tech a lot recently. I was basically ever since it came out with that attack, of course, it can stop your opponent from retreating. Sometimes a corner can just completely end the game if your opponent doesn't have a way to maneuver something that can't attack out of the active spot. So it's a very cool tech card that we see.
And let's not forget, Grant did play one of those Professor Turo on the early turns. Is just going to try and adjust his strategy and make it a Maractus Cactus attack with the corner. Doing this Genesect EX, it is resistant to grass, so it takes no damage, so you don't have to worry about knocking that Pokemon out later on. Grant's now got to start considering what resources he has available. There is, of course, 2 Goldengo prized, so you don't have as much draw power in getting set up. There is only 1 Turo left, but with the Genesect being in the active spot, it means that you can only limit yourself to just that 1 draw from the top of the deck per turn with Goldengo. Doesn't seem like a lot, but over the course of, maybe 3, 4, 5 turns even, losing 50% of your draw can be a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely can. So a little bit of an awkward one potentially. I mean, RYUKI can use that to buy some time, but, if you're just drawing more cards, eventually you will find that tourist scenario. It's perhaps the best RYUKI can make of an awkward situation where you're not really disrupting the way you want to. Like, there's no toe scroll option because of the prizes. There's no Badu option, and kind of, I guess this is the best disruption that RYUKI can do, but it's still, it can't be feeling amazing.
Yeah, if deck out is the potential strategy for RYUKI, he's got to also make sure he watches how many cards he leaves in his deck. Grant does not play a way to shuffle his hand in, so every time coin bonus is used, as long as RYUKI's not playing Iono, those cards cannot be refreshed back into the deck.
No, absolutely. So that's going to be a consideration as well. Ultra Ball gets played for another Dracloak, so third Recon Directive coming in does take that Iono to hand, and is just going to corner again.
So Grant's kind of on a clock to, hopefully find something like Turo as quickly as possible. You take that Genesect out of play, it's done its job now. You don't have to, re-bench it to have its effect later down the line. It does use those 2 coin bonus abilities, and now here is that Pokegear 3.0. Does not find the...
Yeah, the last card.
Oh, the last card is the Turo. It's cut off a bit from the camera. Thought he missed it. Instead, is just going to find the Professor Turo scenario. Now with this card being used, Genesect can leave play. It's no longer going to be an option in terms of being trapped, since Grant will use the smart option of not re-benching it. And all of these Pokemon in play now, except for that Gimmighoul, can attack to some extent. So trapping it is really going to have pretty minimal value.
Yeah, and with the Gimmighoul as well, although it kind of, it's not resistant to grass, so it can actually be KO'd by the corner, so you can't trap it forever, unlike with the Genesect.
That is true. However, what you do have to think about is if Monkey Dory comes down, it can sort of delay the damage.
Oh, that's true.
Since you move 20, then you move it back. However, it's still net 20 damage plus every turn if Grant sets up a Monkey Dory of his own. So you are right, it's not infinite, but if you can buy yourself 5, 6 turns, bring it back, do it again, it could be enough. And Grant has yet to show that there is another Goldengo EX in play, and RYUKI may just not have a better option than taking the risk to just try and trap this Gimmighoul up, because as it stands right now, the prize race is going to be very hard to shift in his favor.
Oh, but there's some very nice maths that worked out here, though. So, of course, that Maractus, when it gets KO'd, it does activate that Exploding Needles ability, putting 6 damage counters onto that Goldengo. So now it has 200 HP left. Do you know what does 200 damage?
I would go as far as to say Phantom Dive does that exactly. So, yeah. Lo and behold, Exploding Needles, just another plus that Maractus boasts in its unique yet disruptive card, printed recently in Scarlet and Violet. Latias can move, so that's no issue. We've got the Sparkling Crystal. Now all that's missed here for RYUKI is finding a Dragapult EX. Gonna just check his opponent's discard pile, see what resources are available, and figure out what the best approach is at this point. If Hawlucha can come down, that's a way to, remove another Goldengo. We saw that kind of work out pretty well in that first game. You can take 3 prize cards there by putting this Goldengo in a knockout range and also KOing the Gimmighoul on the bench. You kind of prevent your opponent from putting down another 1 prize Pokemon, which, as things stand for Grant, 1 coin bonus a turn with no KO 1 or 2 Dragapult EX down the line.
Yeah, there was an interesting debate there that RYUKI had for playing that Iono, which was to whether to put down the Pheasantipity EX. I think that it does make sense to do because you cannot miss the Dragapult this turn, so just making sure that you draw essentially 9 cards after or even more after these Recon Directors, just really making sure you don't miss a Dragapult. I think going for the Pheasantipity does make sense here. I don't think it's any more of a liability than the Latias already would be.
So another turn of Recon Directive. We saw Flip the Script be used. Iono was played. Now still just missing that Dragapult EX. We did see one hit the discard pile early on.
There was the one Dragapult EX hit from the Recon Directive, the first one.
There you go. Then the Dragapult EX problem, no more. Even an Ultra Ball taken to the hand for safe measure. And an energy drop onto the bench means even if this Dragapult EX is to go down, Phantom Dive next turn, still a very realistic option. Haven't even seen the energy attachment, just bought that turn thanks to the corner on the Maractus means energy pacing no longer an issue for Ryuki. And despite these terrible prize cards, he's going to fight his way through this game. Phantom Dive KO, now just has to figure out where he would like to put these 6 damage counters. Does he want to go onto odd prizes and try and threaten this Gimme Ghoul, or is it just better to go after a different Pokemon? Instead, just going to dump all 6 onto this Ceruledge, trying to put it into range potentially later on during the course of the game to maybe route those prizes so Goldango EXs the game.
Very well, as we do see Grant does slam down that Arven. So we'll be able to find the Energy Search Pro. It was in the hand for a while. We saw that, Grant could have played it during any of those turns, but recognizing, no, I want to play it during the turn where I need it the most, so saving it as essentially an out from Arven to find the kill on the Dragapult. Very heads up from Grant.
It's lost a lot of its value at this point. So many of the energies have been grabbed. It's just a glorified earthen vessel grabbing one more energy than normal from a non-A-spec item. It doesn't feel great, but at least you're getting use out of your one inclusion A-spec your deck. We've yet to see coin bonus. That will be the first. Those 2 Goldango EX are still stuck in the prize cards here. So if Grant can't find something like a Night Stretcher to bring back one of these Pokemon from the discard pile, that means the Gimme Ghoul could be in danger the following turn, and even searching it out could be difficult thanks to there being no Genesect EX in play yet.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a universe as well where Ryuki could go ahead and, with the use of something like Holucha's Flying Entry, take a KO on the Gimme Ghoul. And then, yeah, you're left with, like, what, 1 Goldango out? You're not quite in a position where you can do, like, a double KO and knock out all of, like, the potential Goldango options on the field. But, yeah, there it is. 7 energy, make it rain. 2 more prizes for Grant. 2 more away from winning this game. How does Ryuki respond?
Got plenty of draw at his disposal, so there will be plenty of options to follow. Ryuki at 4 prize cards does make me wonder if you can even afford to commit damage onto the Gimme Ghoul, since it essentially is forcing you into a 7 prize line. Yeah. With there already being 6 damage counters on the Ceruledge, is that something you want to chase after instead? With there being no Dusknoir, there's no threat of this Goldango EX in the active spot being knocked out as it stands. With there being no damage counters on the board, even something like Blood Moon Ursaluna is just 20 damage short of closing something like the game out. We're going to see Ultra Ball be played to start the turn off, and as you mentioned, Flying Entry could be one of the many pieces Ryuki needs to piece together this puzzle and close out game number 2.
And I mean, that is going to be the grab. You can... I mean, it's going to be good no matter what, because you put it down, you put 1 damage counter.
No longer an option. We'll see Flying Entry be used. 10 damage onto both bench Pokemon Grant has in play. Yet to see these recon directives. Is there an Iono for Disruption? Does find one. It looks like maybe at the bottom of the deck, so is there another copy or potentially a different supporter card that Ryuki wants to use this turn?
I mean, Boss's Orders could be something if you want to just, bring up the Ceruledge that way. Ideally, you could do it with like a counter catcher there. There's the Boss's Orders in hand, but we can save that, has the counter catcher ready to go. So instead can go ahead and attach. Oh, is that the Luxurious Cape coming down? My goodness. And then the Iono as well for good measure. Wow.
Yeah, Luxcape just protecting this Pokemon if there's something like Devolution, but it's really just Ryuki thinning that card out of the hand.
Yeah.
It's not going to get any value on bench Pokemon for the future of this game. Ryuki just doesn't want to draw into that card, so we'll go about doing that. Still has access to flip the script, another recon directive. And Ryuki's doing what he can, despite his unfortunate circumstance, to fight back into this game. We'll see Ultra Ball continue to just thin the deck out. There's the Monkey Dory that's grabbed to the hand. Flip the script, recon directive. Ryuki's going to have a large hand to work with next turn, meaning that as long as the cards are essentially in the deck, they will be an option for Ryuki to put together some sort of plan.
Yeah, just going to dig through as much as possible, just really try and thin out the deck as much as possible to to prevent any kind of option from not being available next turn. But as we already talked about, these Goldengo decks, they don't really tend to play. It's either minimal or no hand disruption. And in Grant's case, there is no hand disruption. So this hand buildup is going to stay with RYUKI. And it's going to just be a matter now of, KO now. Can Grant find a way to close out the game and take these last 2 prizes to take us to a game 3?
This is a super smart damage counter placement from RYUKI, deciding to put 5 damage counters on the active and 2 on the bench to make sure Blood Moon Ursaluna can KO one of these 2 Pokemon next turn. Even if you use Monkey Dory to heal off that active, you'll still be in range of a Blood Moon KO. And with everything else being there, this will really come down to if Grant can find the pieces this turn. He's got Cypher Maniac plus the Night Stretcher. So if there's a combination of double Superior Energy Retrieval, right, needs 7 energy cards. If you have Superior Energy Retrieval plus at least 2 cards to discard, or rather 3 cards to discard, you can use the first Superior Energy Retrieval to discard 2 non-energy cards to grab 4 energy back. And then you can use the second one to pitch 1 energy from your hand to grab 4 back. The question, however, will be, does Grant have enough energy in the discard pile to do that? And I think after that big Make It Rain KO, Grant's going to have the pieces that are needed to close this game out, assuming he has the Superior Energy Retrieval and enough cards to discard, which he should since it's exactly 3 in hand.
So I think the problem is that you need 2 Superior Energy Retrievals to get enough energy to get this right. So
we got the Cypher Maniac right here. It was just played to stack the deck with 2 Superior Energy Retrieval. I'm not sure.
No, it was a Superior Serendipity.
So maybe not enough energy in the discard is going to have to find a piece. Does he see it?
Finds
the Superior Energy Retrieval. That means as long as there's enough energy cards in the discard pile, let's check. And there are plenty here. Lavincia plus the Superior Energy Retrieval. And if there's 2 of those Superior Energy Retrievals, then I think Grant's got the pieces he needs to close this game out. Their Superior Energy Retrieval 1 has the Night Stretcher. That's a 7 energy KO. Grant relying off that Pheasantipity. 1 piece short. Get into our 3rd and final game, and there's just 5 minutes on the clock. We're just going to see a draw pass here from Grant. That is a huge time miss, but RYUKI's got nothing else, and this Maractus has a 2 retreat cost, so it's going to be really hard for him to move this out of the active spot if he doesn't find a thing like this Latias EX. That is an option. RYUKI's going to get 6 cards. If he can find Latias, Dreepy, and a way to... No, he has none of those pieces. Just a monkey and a pass. And Grant has the exact piece he needs. Genesect EX finds the Goldengo. We could see him make it rain this turn, and Grant is off to the races with just 4 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and I think they might have heard it here at the commentary booth because they are playing a lightning fast here, just like motoring through the deck. So the Metallic Signal comes in, finds the 2 Goldengo, coin bonus comes in.
And finds the Earthen Vessel. I'm not sure Grant had something like Arven in hand yet. He is grabbing cards as fast as he can. It looks like the Arven actually is in hand or just has plenty of Pokemon. Who needs a supporter, Freya? We've got everything here after a draw past turn 1.
Yeah, also, we were being a bit generous. We were saying, 10 minutes. It's actually closer to 3.
Exactly, yeah. There was just 5 minutes to start this turn here. We're going to see the KO, the Exploding Needles, putting 6 damage counters on. What is in the hand? There's a Night Stretcher that can bring back the Maractus.
Yeah.
You've got Counter Catcher to buy some time. There's just 3 minutes remaining, but don't count Grant out of this game. RYUKI's going to have a lot harder time. He's going to do whatever he can, however, to slow this game down, even considering playing Research over Iono just to make sure there's plenty of basic Pokemon to hit the board.
Yeah, I guess so, but like the problem is, like, you're not going to play, rather, you're not going to win this game by playing at this pace. Like, if you're RYUKI, you got to be motoring through, and RYUKI's not motoring right now.
Yeah, you kind of wonder with how bad this start is going and with how poor your setup is, do you just try and, within the confines of the game, delay as much as possible? Use this Maractus to just buy time. You've got 2 Dreepy prized, Freya. That means your setup is going to be lackluster when it comes to having a competitive game, especially with there being just 2 minutes remaining. You see him thinking about drawing. Grant's already got his card on the top of the deck. He's just going to keep drawing. Already has the air balloon. Grant's going to try and just power through these turns in 30 seconds or less. This may be the fastest Goldengo turn I've ever seen, especially on commentary.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. I think, actually, small problem, I don't think Grant has enough energy for the KO. And yeah, that's it. The time is called, and Grant is just acknowledging, yeah, that's just going to be a tie.
Yeah, it looks like just not enough time to finish this match up. Grant, Shen, and Ryuki Okada, what a performance they put on. Back and forth, game 1 and game 2. You got to feel for Ryuki in that second game, just